They describe themselves as a nationalist party dedicated to preserving British culture and values, but are often defined elsewhere as being racist, and in particular by some people being anti-Islamic. And their deputy leader, Simon Darby, also joins us. Hi, Simon. Say hello to Weyman.
Hello, Weyman.
I'd rather just debate straight with you rather than debate with somebody who's a known fascist, actually.
That's a good start.
Hello?
Wouldn't you rather talk to somebody who you have strong views about? You might find out some...
I thought the interview was just going to be you and me about my view on the BNP, and then afterwards he was going to come in afterwards about what I'd said.
So, you're not prepared to enter into the democratic process and actually talk about...
Well, my view is that I am prepared to enter the democratic process with people that abide by the democratic process. I think that people that start off by saying that there's a colour bar in their organisation about who can join, or base themselves off the politics of Adolf Hitler, until they stop doing that, then...
How about the National Black Police Officers Association? Have they got a colour bar with membership?
Hello? I can't hear you very well, I'm sorry.
I'll tell you what, how about the Black Socialist Organisation? What about them?
I mean, self-organised groups, gays and lesbians, and also women's organisations are there to try and progress equality. But organisations like the BNP are not trying to have integration. Those organisations are aimed at greater integration in society and are trying to point out where there's discrimination. The BNP base their politics off Mussolini and Adolf Hitler.
Well, actually, that's not quite true, but it's interesting that you reserve the rights for everybody else to organise and reach their aspirations politically, but you don't extend that courtesy to English people like myself.
Who am I speaking to? Hello?
It's Simon Darby here, Weyman.
I won't speak to you. I'd like to speak to the presenter, please.
Well, I'm here, Weyman, but I don't see what you have to be afraid of. You've got some strong arguments.
I was told that I was going to speak first. I don't debate with the BNP. No of the mainstream parties agree to debate with the BNP. The Conservative Party, the Liberal Democrat Party, the Labour Party, or any other party will not debate with them, and that's because they're a fascist organisation, and we have a no-platform policy, and we're refusing to debate with organisations like that.
Well, how do you know? How do you know what the strength of your argument is if you're not prepared to put them up against?
Our arguments are very clear. We're able to put them up so that other people can hear them. But what we're saying is...
And what harm does it do to having a conversation with somebody?
No, what we're saying is that I'm not going to give them the respectability of saying that they are a normal political organisation when they're a political conspiracy against black people, against any form of democracy.
But surely it would be a valid thing to do to make that point. It makes you. It could be misinterpreted by some as being a lack of courage, or perhaps that you don't have the sort of policy ammunition to stand up against whatever the BNP has to say. I'm not really. I don't really want to sit in the middle and say, well, he says this, what do you say to that? Yeah, well, he replies this, what do you say to that? That's silly. He's here, you're the people who have a difference of point of view, and everybody listening would be fascinated to hear you...
People that have attacked friends of mine, like Doran Lawrence, and also threatened people politically...
Well, put that view to Simon, then. Why put that view to me when Simon is also listening?
At the moment, there's an agreement with all the political parties, as long as they're kind of a polecat party, that that people don't accept them on the platform.
Keith Vaz has recently shared a platform. Lembit Opik of the Liberal Democrats is quite happy to talk. We have Boris Johnson quite openly talking to our representative in the Greater London Assembly. What's so special about you?
Let's be clear, there's no debate between the political parties setting up and trying to say that the BNP is a normal organisation. It's an organisation based on the British Union of Fascists through the National Front. It's a Nazi organisation. It's very, very clear it wants to bring back apartheid. What we're saying is that as long as you've got the leader of the BNP who says that the Holocaust didn't happen, that it was, that it was the biggest hoax of the century, and is convicted by British judges saying that.
No, it wasn't.
That say that. The British police force say that the BNP can't be inside because they're not a normal organisation. The General Synod, the Church of England, says that they're not a normal organisation. It's not just me that says that. The majority of mainstream and established organisations are very clear that fascist organisations are not acceptable in this country.
Yeah, but that's all very well and good, putting in rules that then, by definition and by default, equate to a political party being a pariah. But, you know, you have to look beyond those rules. I mean, let's say, for instance, that we were in power and we decided we'd ostracise the UAF. Not that we would, but how would you feel about that? If I said to you, well, I'm not going to discuss your politics. Well, you've got your chance. You can speak to me, or you can speak to Tommy.
No, I want to speak to the presenter.
Right.
Okay, go on then, Weyman.
Look, we don't actually. I thought what we agreed on was that you put a series of questions to me, and if they wanted to answer, then that's up to the radio station. But you know, I don't get in debates with fascists because on the day they talk to you as they do now, but later on they attack you. Right? So, you know, I think that, you know, the idea of coming along in a suit and trying to be respectable seems to be all right. But on the other hand, I think they've got a long and clear history. John Lowe went around shooting people on the tube inside London because he wanted to kill black people. David Copeland, who planted the bomb inside Soho, was a BNP.
Well, hang on, Weyman. I've got to say, wait, if I may, I've got to.
Who we're talking about here.
Weyman, I've got to say, as a journalist, I can't really allow you to make comments like that without making it absolutely clear that those are your accusations.
No, they're not accusations. They're proven facts.
Well, whatever. However, you've laid an awful lot of accusations. You've used the word Nazi, which is pretty inflammatory. Obviously, it's what you believe, but
the English Standards Board in this country, when a BNP member was called Nazi, said it was okay to define the BNP or call them in that, use that language about them. It's not just the UAF that thinks that. And I think what really saddens me is that, you know, maybe the Holocaust happened a long time ago. People don't remember who Adolf Hitler was, or they don't remember how it developed. But, you know, we've got to be very, very clear that Oswald Mosley was British. And if you trace the roots of the British National Party, they trace back to Oswald Mosley. And we've got to be very clear about who these people are. I mean, what I find really surprising is a Nazi organisation, or an organisation has its traditions in fascism, is unwilling to acknowledge that. I mean, that's the first warning. They're not being prepared to be very, very clear about their roots and origins.
Simon.
Well, it's interesting when you listen to him, just how many times he uses the certain key words, Nazi, racist, Holocaust, and all of this. I mean, it's nothing to do whatsoever with British politics, with people losing their jobs as we talk, with high levels of crime, with the economy crashing and whatever. It's an absolute nonsense, and really it's an insult to people listening. That you think that by using these words that you can stigmatise an argument that's very, very popular amongst British people. I mean, we recently got 30% up in Manchester of all places. So really, for you to take this very highfalutin, high-hand opinion and pose as some kind of bastion of mainstream ideology, I find quite amazing, to be honest. But if you want to look at your own organisation, I mean, do you contest elections yourself?
A question for you from the presenter, Weyman. Do you contest elections?
We're an organisation made up of different political parties. You know, even David Cameron signed up to our organisation, and so's, you know, the leading elements of the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats. We are a pressure group which says that we don't want fascist organisations. I understand that the Front National, which Le Pen says that the Holocaust was a small detail in history. I believe that people acknowledge that Le Pen's a fascist, the NDP, the other organisation.
Okay, but I'm comfortable having to ask Simon's questions for him, but I believe his question is along the lines of, do you submit yourself to a democratic process? And obviously, because you're a sort of a kaleidoscope organisation, the answer is no, you don't.
No, but also, can we be clear about something else? In an economic recession and a crisis, right, as what happened in Nazi Germany or the rise of Mussolini, there's always a series of, you know, organisations that will come up and scapegoat people or blame people for what's going on. And I believe that what we're witnessing, of course there's a crisis for what's going on in society. Lots of people are suffering. But I don't believe that fascism's the answer. I don't believe...
Neither do I. I'm not a fascist, and whilst I would accept that there is a recession, there are similarities with the great crash of 1933. We're very much pointing the finger at the bankers. It's nobody else's fault, other than criminal mismanagement from the government. It's very much the bankers. We're not making a racial issue out of this. There are West Indian Christians in my constituencies that are suffering